What is going on, everybody? I'm out here at the shop today shooting a little bit while my machine's running, while I'm working. I've just got me I'll show you my little setup here. I have a little concrete walkway here beside the building. Got me a target range set up here. But ASA Paris is in 2 weeks, so I'm just doing a little shooting, a little practicing today while I'm working. Thought I'd take the time today to show y'all what bow I'm shooting and what setup I'm running this year, and you know, just kind of give my thoughts on what makes a good 3D bow. Let's go see where we hit. Shooting 42 yards right now. Just kind of shooting some dots. Whoa, kicked my tripod. Shooting 42 yards, just shooting some dots. I don't really shoot dots a whole lot, especially like for distance, but it's really good practice and I really need to, and I'm getting a little better at it, so definitely can tighten it up, but not horrible at 42 yards. Not awful. We can definitely get better than that though. Oh man, other than that shot when I didn't take my sunglasses off, I should have just let down. I could barely see through my feet. Other than that shot, I think that was a pretty good group. Let's see what it looks like. I got two of them right, actually. These two over here are kind of a little bit right. That may have something to do with my angle of my hand on my release. I need to pay a little more attention to that. Alright guys, so let me show y'all what bow I decided to go with this year. And then after that, I'll tell you a little bit about what I look for in a 3D bow. So this year I stayed with my bow from last year, my Halon X, and you know, I still really like this bow. It's 35-inch axle to axle. It's got a 7-inch brace height, and it's around that 330 IBO. And I'm still tinkering with stabilizers. It's the one thing that I'm not nailed down on for sure. But I've got a 30-inch bee stinger up front, and right now I've got 4 ounces, and I've got a 15-inch bee stinger out back with 15 ounces, I believe. That's the only thing I'm really still tinkering with on this bow. I've got an AAE Pro blade on it, and then the Peeping Tom, Tommy Gomez Peep. My sight, this is the one thing that I'm not happy with on my bow. I actually bought this the day before the first tournament this year, used off Archery Talk, because I didn't know I was going to be shooting open this year, and it's just an old CBE field scope. It's got the longer bar and everything, and probably going to upgrade that when I'm at Paris. I'm going to look and see if I can't find another sight that I like better. So I've got this bow set at 70 pounds. It's actually twisted down a little bit. It's like 67 pounds with the 85% mods. And the reason I actually shot this bow this year instead of getting one of the new X comps or a TRX is because, you know, I do shoot 70 pounds in a heavier arrow, and so I didn't want to have the 70 or 75% let off, because at 70 pounds that's a little more than I like to hold. You know, honestly, the 85s aren't quite what I like. I would rather it be more like 80% let off at 70 pounds. And so the new TRXs, they just came out with new 80% mods, and so I will be ordering a TRX7 very, very soon in 70 pounds with 80% mods. That will give me, you know, about the exact holding weight I want. That'll also give me the axle to axle that I'm looking for. That, you know, 37 to 40 inch is kind of the sweet spot. 35's okay, but I definitely like the 37 to 40 a little better for 3D. So for my arrows this year, shooting gold tip triple X's. I don't know if that'll focus. I wanted the biggest diameter arrow that I could shoot this year because I was shooting known 45. Since I'm transitioning back to unknown, I thought about changing back to a little lighter arrow to get a little more speed, but I ran the numbers, and my bow at 270 foot a second to 285 foot a second, it is literally less than an inch at like per yard out past 40. I don't know, it's some, so if I had a 43 yard target and I judged it to keep it in the 10 ring holding dead center, I would have had to set my sight for, I think, 40.5 yards. That's with this arrow at 270 foot a second. With a arrow at 285, I would have to have just set my sight at like 40 even or something. Like, it's less than a full yard difference, and so because of that, sticking with these bad boys, not changing anything. Shot at my deer this group. Let's see how these look. Wish I had an actual 12 to aim at. I just kind of have to aim where 12 sort of is. Let's see. Whoops. Take this camera off, hold on. Can't really complain much about that group. It's probably a little high of where a 12 actually would be on a Mackenzie target, but since I don't really have a 12 to aim at, I'm just kind of aiming at this shootout spot here on my target. So shooting pretty good. Those were all from 40 yards, 40 dead even, so I'll take that. My bow's shooting good at least. Alright guys, so let's talk about what I look for in a 3D bow. And the first thing you need to ask yourself is, are you going to be hunting with this bow, or is it just a 3D bow? If you're going to be also hunting with this bow, then it's a super easy choice. You need to be going with a 34 or a 35 inch axle to axle bow with either a 6 or a 7 inch brace height, preferably a 7. So that's going to leave you with bows like the Halon X, the Energy 35, the Hoyt Defiant 34, you know, bows like that are going to be pretty quick. They're going to still be forgiving at that 35 inch axle to axle. And you know, I prefer the 7 inch brace height, but there's some 6 inch brace height bows nowadays that are super accurate. So if you're going to be just using this for a target bow, then you can be a lot more picky about stuff, you know. I would lean more towards the 35 to 40 inch axle to axle range, and you know, that's all going to kind of depend on draw length and the speed that you need to get. You know, generally the longer the axle to axle bow, the slower it's going to be. That also has something, you know, you have to throw in brace height in there too. But you know, if you've got a draw length under 28 inches, you might look at that 35 to 37 inch length. If you have a 28 to 32 inch draw, you're probably going to more want the 37 to 40 inch axle to axle, and a lot of that's just going to depend on feel and how you like a bow. So as far as brace height goes, I'm always going to run at least 7 inch brace height for a target specific 3D bow if I'm not hunting with it. And you know, depending on if you go to 8 inches versus 7 inches, that's all going to kind of depend on your draw length and how much speed you need to get to that 288 or 298 mark. When it comes to draw weight, I'm always shooting 70 pounds. You know, I think if you look at 90% of the unknown Open Pro 3D guys, the top guys, they're all shooting 70 pounds. You know, a heavy arrow just flies better. It, you know, stabilizes better in the wind. It's not going to drift as much. I just feel like they fly better. And so I want to shoot the heaviest arrow and the biggest arrow I can. And so that's my reasoning for shooting 70 pounds. You know, if you're a known guy and shooting a known class, there's really no reason for it. You know, you can set up a skinnier arrow with a heavier point to buck the wind, and you can shoot 50, 60 pounds. And so, you know, what class you're shooting is also going to kind of help decide how many pounds you're shooting. You know guys, there are a ton of really good bows these days, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you which bow or which brand to buy. You know, kind of use these guidelines, see what bow you like, go shoot them, and make a decision yourself, and we'll see you on the course.